We got some boots on the ground in New Zealand. We are going to tell you a little bit about Jackson Ball early scouting report fit with Wisconsin and what kind of game he has at 26 guard that's exciting a lot of Badger fans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making this your first listen every day. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today's episode, we are talking about Jackson Ball, kind of an early scouting report. Somebody joining the show that has boots on the ground, that's seen him play, that fit with Wisconsin. What's basketball like in New Zealand? And let's bring him on. Andy Rustland, friend of the show on the Discord. And I have, I think I told you this before the show, but I have appointed you the Locked On Badgers New Zealand basketball liaison. Congratulations.
Excellent. Oh, yeah, I accept it with great honor. Thank you.
Love it. Let's start here, man. Jackson Ball, you were able to see him in person, 26 guard from New Zealand in that 26 class, I should say, 6'4"-ish. What were your impressions? Let's start big picture. What was your big takeaways here?
Yeah, first impressions of him. First of all, just the thing that struck me right away was his build. He's a physical guy. He looks strong. He looks older than 17. He looks like an adult out there. So that was, yeah, if you looked at him, you would not believe he was 17 years old. So he's definitely got the physical skills and the strength to compete in the Big Ten for sure.
Does this feel like a guard build? Because he's 6'4"-ish, but he's thick.
Yeah.
What does he do traditionally to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely out there playing as a guard. But the thing about the style of basketball that they seem to be playing in this league is it almost looks like there's 5 guards out there. It's a very different style of play than what we're used to seeing in the Big Ten. That was kind of a big surprise to me when I first started watching the game. But yeah, I mean, he could 6'4". He's right on that borderline, right, of maybe slipping into the 3. It seems like most of the players are kind of coached to be as versatile as possible. So yeah, could he move to a different position? Yeah, maybe.
Well, a lot of 17-year-olds, I mean, Decker grew when he got to college. If he grows 2 inches, suddenly he's 6'7" with that build, and he looks like a perfect wing. Let me ask you this. Offensively, what'd you see from him that stood out, good or bad?
Yeah, I was really excited to go see the game because he came into the game averaging 22 points a game. They play 4 quarters, 4 10-minute quarters with a 24-second shot clock. And so the scores are usually up in the 80s, 90s, it looks like, in this league. So, yeah, that's a pretty healthy – I think he's 5th or 6th scoring leader in the league. So I was excited to see like a really big – and in his first game, I think he scored like 40 points. So I came in like really excited to see a really great offensive output. He ended up with only 13 points. So not a huge game from him. There was another player on his team that was kind of taking a bulk of the load offensively. They ended up winning the game. So he didn't need to be really the point guy on the offense. But what he did do was he was almost always the guy bringing the ball up the court. So when the other team scored, he would take it out from the out of bounds and bring the ball up the court and kind of initiate the offense. He seemed content in this game to just kind of let his teammates do what they needed to do. I think going into the fourth quarter, he had 5 points. So yeah, he kind of started to take over a little bit in that last quarter, and you could really see a little bit more of his potential. He was driving to the basket more. He was initiating some offensive plays himself. I guess that brings me into a bigger point about the way that the offense seemed to be run in this league, which is that there seems to be a lot of individual play, not a lot of pick and rolls, not a lot of like what I could tell were set plays. It was a lot of get one guy the ball and let him try to get a basket however he wants to. And then if someone drove into the lane, there would be someone waiting at the 3 to, take one of those threes that were open. But yeah, I didn't see a lot of real organized play, not a lot of like slashing to the basket or anything like that. But he definitely showed flashes that he's got some moves. He had a really great baseline move for a layup. He unfortunately went 0 for 3 from 3-point range, but I was watching him during warmups, and he was hitting pretty much everything in warmups. So he's got a good shot. It's just it didn't come off in this particular game. But yeah, he clearly feels confident shooting the 3, and he's got a solid 3-point shot.
Yeah, I kind of feel okay with it, scoring 13 points, taking over a little in the fourth, going 0 for 3 from 3, right? Because if he's in that perimeter shot, suddenly he is up into that 16, 19-point range. I think my dream here, and tell me if you think I'm off base or if this is possible. And again, we're early, right? We're small sample size, and he's young still.
Absolutely, yeah.
My hope is he's like kind of a 6'4", 6'5" jumbo-sized point guard. And it sounds like from your standpoint, he was the guy bringing the ball to court, content with getting people involved. Feels like that might be maybe the fit for him potentially with Wisconsin.
Yeah, he was clearly a leader on the court. He would have played. It looked like he was going to play the entire game. He got in foul trouble at the end of the second quarter and got benched for maybe 2 or 3 minutes just because he was in foul trouble. But he played the entire rest of the game. During timeouts and stuff, the coach was always talking to him first. Like I said, he was bringing the ball up the court. He was calling out switches on defense. He was clearly a natural leader on the team, and yeah, I can definitely see him as a kind of guy kind of running the game and being that sort of calming influence that we've had, that's sort of tradition of that on the Badgers lately. We always have a player like that.
So I'm not going to put you on the spot and say athletically, how does he translate to the Big Ten right now? Because he's 2 years away from that at a minimum, right?
Yeah.
What did you see flashes athletically? Good, bad, anything in between? How would you rate his athleticism? Because that's the question people always have when you bring in a European kid. Like, well, okay, he can shoot. I'm sure he's skilled. I'm sure he's heady. How athletic?
Yeah, that was one thing that I really noticed in the league. There didn't seem to be a ton of athleticism across the board, including Jackson Ball himself. I definitely saw the strength and I saw like the confidence, but in terms of like speed, athleticism, I think that might still be coming. But yeah, like I said, there isn't seem to be a lot of that in the league in general. The league doesn't seem to be running on, they're not getting the best athletes, I guess. Let's put it that way. So these guys have to make plays in other ways. So yeah.
Well, I was going to kind of ask you, and you kind of answered it, but just the level of competition, but also the environment. What's the environment like for these games? How many people? What is it like?
Yeah, it was actually a pretty good environment. The stadium, it's not a huge stadium. So New Zealand only has 5 million people. So imagine imagine Wisconsin has its own professional basketball league, and the region that he's from, Hawke's Bay, is about the size of Green Bay. So imagine a pro basketball team from Green Bay playing against Madison, the city of Madison. This is the level of, and then as far as sports are concerned in New Zealand, rugby's king. Like they sell out, huge stadiums. Basketball's definitely second, third tier. However, the stadium it was a decent sized arena and it was nearly full. They had a gorilla mascot out there, throwing candy to the kids. And yeah, the crowd got excited when their team started coming back. So yeah, it was good. The league seems healthy and well attended. I think this was it? Yeah, it was during the school holiday, like on a Thursday or Friday. So, you wouldn't expect that to be the most well attended game per se, but there were a ton of people there. So yeah, I was pleased to see the level of attendance there for, what amounted to be a middle of the season game. Yeah.
You said, curious, out of this, basketball is kind of the second or third tier. What other sport is right there with basketball? Who's competing with basketball for that second spot behind rugby?
The two other big sports here are football, or soccer, as we call it in the United States, and cricket. Cricket is quite big here. So yeah, I'd say you're as far as like athletes, and athleticism, the best athletes are probably going to go into rugby if they're a New Zealand athlete, unless they have some personal connection to another sport.
Okay.
And then, and then cricket kind of takes the place of baseball here.
Okay. No, great stuff. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Andy. I want to ask him a little bit about his Badger journey. What he's doing in New Zealand. I phrase that like you're running from the law, just kind of your journey there. And then also just some Badger basketball thoughts, kind of big picture, Kirk Penny, all that coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Monarch Money. If you ever check your bank account and, the little alarm bell in your head goes off and the googly eyes come out of your eyes and you're like, oh my gosh, where did my money go? Monarch Money will tell you. Monarch Money will, listen, sometimes you need harsh honesty. Monarch Money is going to be honest with you because they love you. This is where your money went, Ryan. And this is where maybe it doesn't need to go next month so you can, save up a little bit more, plan for the future. Turns out in the past, and I'm trying to be better this month, actually, partially because of Monarch Money, I've spent a lot of money eating junk food and beer and things I probably don't need quite as much of. So I'm trying to be better there. Monarch Money is helping me. It is a collaborative tool. Bring your partner in there, set goals, track all your finances. It is like a personal CFO. They are incredible. A dashboard that makes it all easy. Head over to Monarch Money right now. Take control of your finances. Use code LOCKEDONCollege, and you're going to save 50% off at Monarch Money for your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, let's come back into this with Andy. Again, really do appreciate it, man, jumping on, giving us a little bit of your time, some expertise from New Zealand. What's your Badger journey? Being a Badger fan and then ending up in New Zealand.
Yeah, don't kill me for this. I was born in Minnesota, went to Clem Haskins basketball camp, if anyone remembers Clem Haskins, former coach of the Gophers, but didn't really become a huge college basketball fan until I went to college in Eau Claire. And then after college, moved to Madison. And you can't really live in Madison and not be a Badger fan, right? So, yeah, I moved to Madison in 2003. And I would say by 2005, I was pretty hardcore Badger basketball fan. So been there through all the ups and downs during the last 20 years, including that great Final Four run, of course, in the championship game. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. But yeah, I moved to New Zealand about 5.5 years ago, just for kind of a change. Brought the family down here. I've got 3 kids, and I don't know. We just thought we'd try something different, and New Zealand seemed like a cool place to live, and so far it has been. But yeah, haven't met any other Badger fans down here yet, so that's why I try to stay active on the Discord and connect with a few other Badger fans back home. I got to get a VPN and record the games on YouTube TV to watch them. But I try to still watch all the games while I'm down here. So yeah, it's great.
Shout out to the Discord below. And my guy, most people, when they're like, I just want to have a little change, they give up like pasta. You said moving to New Zealand, like, I just want to have a little change. And like, my God, that's incredible. You brought the family and you just wanted to mix it up a little bit, throw a change ball, and you moved to New Zealand. Did you throw a dart at the map? How did you end up in New Zealand?
I don't know. There were several factors, I guess. I guess I'll admit my nerd credentials here and say I was at least a little bit motivated by Lord of the Rings, seeing all the beautiful nature down here, and it's just like you would imagine. It's really just gorgeous nature everywhere you go. Any kind of outdoor activity that you can think of, there's people doing it down here. There's so many wonderful things to do outdoors, including sports. Everybody's active and in some sort of outdoor activity or another. So yeah, that's absolutely true. And yeah, we're really loving it down here so far. So yeah.
Dude, that's phenomenal. Shifting back to Badger basketball, give me big picture. Do you feel good about this team next year?
I always feel good, Ryan, about the team before this. It's the best time to feel good about the team, right? Because you can't be proven wrong yet. But yeah, I'm excited. When they hired Kirk Penny back, I was excited just because he's a New Zealand guy. But I really feel like he's really changed the team around, and Greg Gard has, shown that he can adapt to this new style of offense and this new NIL world where you bring in these guys. I like the people we picked up so far in the portal. Yeah, I'm feeling really good about next season. I think we can definitely make some noise.
Is Kirk Penny a big deal in New Zealand, or is it basketball not popular enough?
I don't know. I haven't talked to a lot of people about basketball, about college basketball, because every time I bring it up, everyone's like, huh? So I don't know that like the layperson here even really knows who Kirk Penny is per se, but he's definitely like, for people that know basketball, they know Kirk Penny. I mean, he's like the all-time leader for New Zealand and a bunch of different statistical categories and stuff. And he came and played for the New Zealand team. There's an Australian basketball league that has a New Zealand team that plays in it. And Kirk Penny's played for them for a few years. And so anybody that follows that league definitely knows who he is. And yeah.
Oh, great stuff, man. Last question here on Ball, and just to wrap it back up with him. To me, he feels like a guy potentially that would play early. He feels like a guy who maybe doesn't have a high ceiling, but a high floor, good build, can shoot, pretty skilled, not a great athlete. I feel like I'm maybe painting in generalities there, though, and I don't want to do that. But that's kind of the feel I have for him. Do you think I'm way off on that? Pretty close?
No, for me, it boils down to how is he going to adapt to this different style of play? Because that's definitely the thing that struck me right away. There were 2 low post plays the entire game in the game that I watched. They both resulted in turnovers. One, the guy got the ball just slapped out of his hands, and the other one, he threw up kind of a wild shot. So the style of play is quite different. But he seems like a guy that's got a high IQ and is willing to be coached and wants to be coached. If he's a quick learner and I think he's going to connect well with Kirk Penny, I can see him starting early for sure. Or not starting, but playing early.
Playing early for sure.
Yeah.
No, man, I love it. Andy, dude, thank you, for jumping on the show. Would definitely love to have you back on, not only if you see them or Hayden Jones even, but just to talk hoops. Dude, appreciate it. Coming all the way from New Zealand to jump on the show and make us a little bit smarter. He is
my
Andy.
pleasure.
Thank you so much, my friend, and we will definitely talk later.
Yeah, cheers.